So is this basically just gonna be the Outer Worlds fan cast today?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
What
I
love
feel like
about
the
it-
outsider on this
I
one.
haven't played it.
What I
Okay.
love is that Thomas
I'm
is
just enjoying
enjoying
my
the
coffee.
game and has good things to say about it, despite the fact that he hasn't actually even discovered that the world he's on is like the tiniest fraction of the game.
I have no
And
idea.
It's
You told me
hub-based.
right now.
And it's so good that you still loved it.
Yeah.
Still fucking
Just
enjoyable.
exploring
I
the
think-
one little hub.
I still need to play more, but the first tertiary quest where you just have to collect people's grave rent. I think it's my favorite thing.
That is
That is
just
the best
that-
corporate thing I've ever
how
heard.
amazing is that? It's like you have to
Rent
rent
your grave.
and suicide counts as vandalism because
Oh,
your
because
body
you
is
belong
property.
to the property.
No, your body is property of the corporation.
I
So
for one
suicide
look
is
forward to our
and
Chinese overlords.
if you commit suicide, your closest relative has to pay for
Yeah,
everything.
and by relative they
Maybe
mean how far you're standing relative to the person where they killed themselves.
That reminds me of that part in
That's
Judge
what I was gonna say,
Dredd.
like, holding relatives responsible for suicide is what Japan does.
Hey! Well, that reminds me of that part in Judge Dredd where he's like, oh yeah, he could have taken a dive off the balcony. He would have died. And the judge is like, maybe, but it would have been legal. It's like,
yeah, Outer Worlds is fucking great.
The writing, it's a long time since a game just like absolutely had me with the writing. And
Yeah.
I just wanted every single dialogue option. Did exactly what you did.
Yeah, max out dialogue.
Everything into dialogue so I can get every possible part.
Yeah.
Quick save before it so I
Yeah.
could try the alternate. It's like when I used to read Choose Your Own Adventure
Choose Your Own
books
Adventure
and I had like
novels.
20
Bookmark.
bookmarks in it. So I could go
my
back.
first introduction to those was the Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah, which is appropriate given
Yeah,
Spooktober.
given that it's
Spooktober.
Spooktober and that we're having a spook episode. I think the first one I ever read was The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh.
I think that was the Choose Your Own Adventure.
Can't
I think there wasn't a choose your own adventure, but the first Goosebumps I read was Say Cheese and Die.
Do you remember the show?
Yes, I
Yes.
remember the show.
Do
There
you-
was the
do you
episode
want
with
the
the
show?
giant ant, wasn't there?
I'm sure. That sounds
Honey,
like
I Shrunk the
Goosebumps.
Kids.
No, not Honey.
But I see where you're
But I
getting
see why. Yeah, okay. I'm not literal. I'm definitely not autistic.
Wait, does Goosebumps hold up though?
I don't know, but I definitely wanted.
Not
Goosebumps
really,
didn't
but
really hold up
Have you
at the
rewatched
time.
Monster Blood, where they
That's
defeat
kind
it
of its
with
charm.
airplane food because airplane food is so disgusting it kills the thing that eats
what's the
everything.
deal with airplane?
Oh my god, that reminds me. This in Bob Chipman's latest Schlocktober episode. Have you guys seen it?
No.
It's about this 60s like flesh-eating thing, right?
Oh,
but
God.
it's like an algae that's just in the water.
You say this, but guys, I should share with you guys. There was a Smithsonian magazine article because I'm cool and do things like read Smithsonian about a sentient algae fungi thing. It's a blob essentially that has the ability to learn and apparently really likes oats. So we're all
Like,
gonna
keep it
die.
Away
like-
from Neil
like in-
Blomkamp then.
Sentient Bob is gonna get.
Yay!
Hey.
But anyway, yeah. What the thing was, what the creature eats flesh, but is allergic to blood, which is why it only eats people in the water.
That is the-
That is amazing.
So they kill it by injecting it with a big thing full of blood.
Holy
that-
water,
pretty metal.
Holy blood,
That's
I imagine.
pretty metal.
The
No,
blood
no,
of
just
Christ.
just
No, no, you
regular
can
blood.
You can only keep that in your mouth.
Oh yeah, you can. It's the only way you can administer the blood of Christ. It's orally.
Here, you gotta
really-
you gotta Triple H it, man. That's the only way.
Yes.
I really, really am disappointed that that movie didn't end that way. The Nun, which she should have
Becomes
swallowed
Jesus
it.
Christ 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Return to God Mountain.
Exactly.
Please don't make me spit my coffee.
Please don't spit your coffee.
I'm really trying not to.
It's okay if you do. We all have.
So what are we talking
Okay.
about this week on the Cinebeards?
We
Welcome
also
to the
should
Cinebeards.
probably
What's our
mention we have
recording
a non-bearded individual in the room for
Oh
a change.
yeah, our more astute listeners.
Well, we've been weeding ourselves onto that because I'm only quasi-bearded,
It.
so it's been like a good transitional period for the
We've
podcast.
got an hour 57,
Okay, cool.
so we've got enough time to do this episode at least.
So for the more astute listeners,
Jacques.
you would have heard
We love you, Jacques.
that we have a guest with us today.
I hope you're
Juanita.
enjoying Outer Worlds.
I don't know why I'm gesturing. I always gesture.
Visual gags.
Visual
Hi,
gags on-
Juanita.
Hi.
Why are you
I'm
here?
now waving. Because visual medium, right? So why am I here?
Because we're talking about horror, and you wrote stuff that's going to be published in a horror book.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm doing my thesis on Gothic literature, and I'm writing on the intersection of the changeling folklore, neurodivergence, and horror cinema for another project.
So basically, you're here to make us look bad.
Yeah!
Because
Yeah, we do that
I
ourselves.
object to you having a competent person on the podcast.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
Come
I
on.
never said I was competent.
Why do you keep bringing competent people to the podcast?
Look,
Shit at
it's
me.
fine.
Where's your mouse
I have
pad?
a terrible memory, so I will just gesture vaguely and go, that guy, and rely on you to fill in the blanks. See, when I'm writing, I can have notes.
Are you actually gonna go get the mouse pad
I
to
have
throw
2
at me?
mouse pads.
Thank you.
You better
Ow.
watch yourself, Thomas. You're fucking denise.
But yeah, no.
That's fine. We'll just assume you mean Guillermo del Toro every time.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro, yes.
We love you,
I love him.
Guillermo.
Kronos is on the list for
Speaking of
tonight,
which,
by the way.
I watched Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark
Ooh.
last night,
Was it scary?
and it wasn't scary because it
I
was
really want to watch it.
not really appropriate to fears for our time, which kind of ties into what we're going to be speaking about this episode. But also there was one
segues.
line in it that
What if I'm really scared of communism and the bomb?
Then are you
Oh, no.
Jeff Bezos?
No, that's
Not
tax.
the Russians.
It's the IRS.
He doesn't fear the IRS. He's beyond it.
Yeah, no.
Mecha IRS.
Even the Joker's afraid of that.
Still haven't watched that. Shut it. I need to.
did you go and see it?
No, I
Thomas?
didn't really
Really
chance
need
to.
to
Like,
watch it,
the
though.
work has
I
been
feel like I
crazy.
do in order to get any of my coworkers' jokes, any of my new partners' jokes, any of your jokes on the horror group. Like, it's not so much I need to see it because I want to see it, but because I would like to be involved in general conversation for the next month.
Part of the zeitgeist.
Oh, it's just easy.
Haven't we
The
all just,
Joker is an incel. The end.
Yes.
We'll
So
see.
Incel the movie.
The Joker is my other folder on Facebooks. Facebooks. Wow, that was great. Plural.
The Facebooks.
The book face.
Yes, there is more than one.
But as I was saying,
book
we
face, the
reminded
plot
me with the
bracket.
word book there. There is a line in Scary Stories to Tell
Oh,
in the
God.
Dark that is scarier than anything else in the movie.
What is it?
Because
Get
bad
this.
writing is the
The-
true horror.
The protagonist girl, she's like 15, 16. She like
1516 or 5060?
15, 16.
Ah, sorry, I thought you said like 56. I was like,
No,
that's not a girl, that's,
that's
a
a
woman.
That's a lady.
It's a woman.
She looks at like the book of scary stories in her hands and she's like, "You don't read the book. The book reads you."
No! No!
That's what I think of that.
No.
It's a fair review. That's pretty.
Almost
fucking
good.
awful.
Wait.
But is
You
the
can
rest
do our
of
Foley.
But is the rest of it?
You gotta
No! We do not improve the protection. What happens when she's gone?
We
You
fall
needed to get
apart
more
like usual.
vibrato in there.
These guys have jumped the shark.
Look at them being competent. We're learning things by listening to
No,
them.
next
So-
week everyone's like, we're gonna have like 60 listeners.
Yeah.
Like, they'll all be expecting a decent
We'll get
podcast.
mad dislikes.
It's
We
fine.
did get our first dislike.
Did you? Tell me
You
about
told me
that.
about
Did you get
that.
a
Wait,
bad review
on-
yet?
No bad review.
Because the
but we
true
got the
horror
first
is men on
dislike.
the internet.
Was that on the cursed episode?
No, it was on the episode where we were like,
Well,
yeah, Martin
actually-
Maron put
I will throw you in a well, actually.
bullets in his
Really?
place.
There's a mouse pad doing the
Was
rounds.
that
You can
our
just throw it
first
at whoever
dislike?
just
Our first dislike was on the episode where we dunked on the Joker director.
I'm shocked.
I'm sure it is.
Wow.
I'm shocked.
I mean, how?
You know,
Is it the first episode they've listened to? Because every other week
We did
it's-
two
we did a
cursed
Spider-Man.
episodes. We did two fucking cursed episodes. Got no dislikes. Dunk on that asshat. Get a dislike. All right.
what are you talking about? He's just a creative visionary who's
The creative
been
visionary
stifled.
behind
It's true, he
the
is a
hangover.
creative visionary.
Behind the
Still
hangover.
an asshole.
Oh, don't forget he also
Listen,
did
he's
Euro
just
Trip
been
all around
stifled
Tom
by
Green.
us.
By peace
Wait a minute, did he
culture.
actually
by
direct all
us
three
snowflake
Hangover movies? I thought
feminazi
he just
soy
did the
boy
first one.
cucks.
Oof, that was a lot of buzzwords.
Yes, it is.
And they're all killing comedy.
Exactly.
One.
I'm personally killing comedy every menstrual cycle.
It's
My
course you are,
favorite,
you're a
my
woman.
favorite quote about that, or my favorite tweet about
I
that
just
was like,
weaponize it.
he's what's
That's
his
the
name?
agenda.
What's the guy's name again?
Todd Phillips.
I keep wanting to say
Also,
Todd
why
Howard.
is that not a...
Todd-
6 in 1 half a dozen.
yeah. Anyway, he
Todd Phillips Howard, yeah.
Todd Phillips Howard. Like he's
Esquire.
complaining about like people are like work culture's killing comedy, but he was paid to professionally kill comedy with the Hangover
by
sequel.
making the Hangover film.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
He made-
it's woke culture that's killing it, not your bad
He
writing.
made 2 Tom Green movies.
Moment of silence.
Didn't he make Old School though?
Yeah.
See,
he
old
did.
school's alright.
Yeah, no, Old School's great.
Wait,
it's like
I haven't
M
watched it
Night
in so long.
Shyamalan.
But then again, I don't think he had
really
that much-
started
That
and
joke will
really-
never get old.
I think he didn't have that much creative input in Old School because if I remember,
That's
like
why
it
it's
was
the
like
good
the
That's why
Judd,
it's the
Judd
good-
Apatow alums that had
Oh,
loads of
yeah.
creative
So
control.
that'd do it.
It's
So it's a George Lucas situation.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, it's an Empire situation.
We're
Don't
very
get-
focused this week.
We are.
We are so focused.
Yeah, we've been talking about horror for 11 minutes
Well,
now.
we
and
are. We're
barely
doing
mentioned horror.
like a deep cut look
It's a deep
at the
dive.
horrors of ADHD.
Yeah.
Listen, don't get me started on neurodivergence because I will actually write
Go
like
off
a
on a tangent.
9,000 chapter, Jesus,
Yeah.
9,000 word chapter on it. God, I can articulate. This is great. I'm a perfect guest to bring on this because, you know,
No, you're articulate, therefore you are the worst possible guest to bring
I'm
on
so
this.
not articulate. I'm dyspraxic.
Should we talk about horror?
Let's talk about
Fuck
horror
it, yes.
films.
This is horror. This is all
This-
horror.
No.
Can we talk about horror movies and not existential horror?
Oh, sure, yeah. why
Yeah,
don't
we
you
just
say
live
so?
with the other
Yeah.
every day.
I was
Yeah.
running out of content.
No, you weren't.
That
No,
is-
you weren't.
Yeah,
Could've gone on
that is
for
a
hours.
horror.
I've listened to you lie straight faced to me for like 20 minutes about movies, and I believed you.
Yeah, you can talk shit till the cows come home to roost.
Ayo.
Mixed
Okay.
it,
Yeah,
That metaphor is a mixed bag.
a Malafor.
if you will.
No, Malafor's like, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah,
It's- yeah,
it's a
That's
thing.
the fucking
Rocket
best.
surgery.
That and
Yes.
dysphemisms. are my absolute
Dysphemisms
favorite.
are great. I also like spoonerisms. Now welcome to the Linguist Podcast.
The Spitey Moonerism.
Okay. Horror movies.
Let's start our podcast. Hi, we are the Cinebeards.
Hi, Cinebeards.
Hi, Cinebeards.
Hi.
Okay, now that we're here and we did roll call, I guess,
Kind of.
sort of.
Good luck editing that, Jason.
Horror.
Oh, good luck,
Edit.
listeners.
What's editing?
I just make sure the levels are fine. After that, the listeners are on their own.
And
It's
look
like
for
real life.
Shall we start from the very beginning? I hear it's a
It's a
very good place to start.
What, 1896?
Yeah, it is.
In the beginning.
Yes.
Okay,
I was
so
thinking more.
Haunted
I was
Castle.
thinking more.
1860.
pre-code or
No,
That
I was
was-
thinking more 1920s when you've
Something
got
of
like
Satan.
Todd
the Man Who
Browning.
Laughs,
Yeah.
the original Nosferatu.
Okay, so we're going
the,
German
uh,
expressionist
You're
on this
probably
bitch.
wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
Why
Oh
not?
my god, what
You're
is it?
probably right.
I've watched it like 6 times. The
Freaks.
No.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Nah.
Gollum and
I'll
how
get
he
it
came
in a
to be
moment.
here.
I'm gonna vaguely
The
Google
Cabinet
it.
of Dr. Caligari.
That's the one.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is like one of my favorite films, and I say this knowing that it makes me sound like a complete snob and asshole.
I just keep wanting to call him Captain Caligula.
Cabinet of Captain Caligula.
Hedonism.
By the power he did.
Very different movie.
It would really be. Fucking love it though.
Fucking write it.
I mean, that's
Greenlit.
Greenlit.
I mean, speaking of cabinet,
Sorry.
like that eye slicing scene, like still freaks me the hell out every fucking time.
But
Yes.
rad though.
It's
Okay.
really rad, especially where they intercut with the cloud on the moon and everything. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
God. And the thing that I really like about German Expressionist and early horror is it's drawing so heavily from both opera and from Gothic literature, which is like two of my nerddoms intersecting in a beautiful cacophony of chaos and weird painted shadows. You know why the shadows were painted in that film, right? budget cuts. They weren't allowed to have the... No, they were not. There was some sort of restriction, which
they
if I
couldn't write
had my
them.
notes in front of me, instead of having forgot them in my apartment, because I'm a professional, I would have been able to remember the exact reason. But there were limits on the number of hours they could burn the, like, heavy watt bulbs, so they painted shadows on the set,
That's
which gives it
awesome.
that effect.
That's
and it
awesome.
just
So
happened to be, like, the
awesome.
best aesthetic choice they could have gone for.
And then game designers were like, baked lighting.
Baked
Save
in lighting.
resources.
And then, you know, like,
Yes.
Edward Gorey, Charles Adam, and Tim Burton saw that and just spontaneously jizzed all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Burton does that often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of that would have
To the
been
tune
probably
of
from
Danny
like
Elfman.
theatre traditions, because
Yeah.
like those early French and German films, they were like
They
like
were
theatre
just
sets.
filmed theatre,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
The props are also a lot like theatre props, with a cardboard silhouette of the prop with
Yeah,
the thing painted on it.
Hey, come on.
This
We
is a
made way
point.
better props than that. Come on.
Your people, Mark.
Your
My people.
Your people?
Theatre
My
people.
people.
Well, theatre tech people.
I
Yeah.
see. Sorry.
You wouldn't know this because you're not a regular listener, but Marcus spent some time in the
Did he?
I wish he.
fascinating.
I wish he touched on
I
it
mean,
more.
my undergrad was in drama, so yeah,
Mine too.
yeah.
And look where we are now.
And now I'm just as broke as I predicted. But I'm on a podcast, so fuck
If you achieve your goals, it doesn't matter what the goals are. It's a success because you achieved your
My
goal.
goal is to pay rent next month.
How far off of you of achieving that goal?
Let's not talk about that right now.
See, now that's a real horror movie.
That's the true
Patreon.
horror.
The true horror was the friends we made along the way. Okay, back to film.
So horror films happen.
Yes.
Yeah, and then?
And then they keep happening.
Yeah,
I'm
and,
on
and
the edge of my
now-
seat, Dion. Keep telling me the story. Horror
then-
happened, and then?
What
next,
like
what next?
recently, I think there was like It Chapter 2, and
Uh,
now Sleep's coming out,
then?
and that's basically horror movies.
Okay, that was a
Wow.
really
I think
short
we're
recap.
done.
I think we're done. We're good here.
Yeah,
I-
there was like a bunch in between. That were
I
pretty
did
good,
get
some
to
were bad.
finally watch it, Chapter 2. I loved it.
Really?
Fantastic. There
Bonkers as
there
fuck.
is one moment where I was like, you should have done your job, researcher. There's an arcade cabinet with Mortal Kombat 2, and that did not come out.
Yes!
It wasn't out yet. It was not out yet, and like, I'm sorry, but
Well, I'm gonna go change my
1985
Metacritic review
for
to
Mortal
0.
Kombat 2?
The only
I
thing
was,
with
Wait,
Chapter
wait,
2
wait,
is
wait,
it made me
it-
crave
when-
Chinese food.
When is it Chapter 2?
Like,
it's set in the 80s.
But
No,
was it
Chapter 2 is not
1
set in
No,
the
no, no.
80s?
The
flashbacks, yeah.
with
The
you see
flashbacks.
the
Okay,
arcade
flashback to.
cabinets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it wasn't out yet, and I'm like, I looked up the researcher's name, and I tried to find an email address to mail them that they should be fired. Like, I couldn't find it.
Well, you should find their boss's email
Yeah.
address.
Yeah, you should get that asshole fired because I mean everybody knows Mortal Kombat 2, the arcade machine, came out in 1994.
That's just common knowledge that I definitely knew before you said that.
I definitely
course,
didn't
likewise.
guess 1995 2 minutes ago.
I pretty much thought 95, but
Yeah, I would have
didn't.
guessed that too, but that's just not the point.
No, it was 94 because
Point is not gonna get somebody fired, goddammit!
the
There
Mortal
will be
Kombat
blood.
1
I needed to
arcade
feel
machine
alive.
debuted in 92.
Oh wow.
And then the console version of Mortal Kombat 1 debuted in 93. And then in 94 we got both the cabinet and the console.
This isn't
port.
gaming beards, Marcus.
Mortal Kombat has lots of blood and gore,
yeah,
therefore it's horror.
pretty horror.
That's how that
What
works.
kind of horror is it?
A slasher.
Torture porn.
It's a creature feature.
What did they used to call torture porn, like, back in the day?
Splatter.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, splatter. That's
Yeah.
it.
Nice.
Splatter.
I prefer that.
Which bothers me because technically what they're referencing is blood spatter. There's no splat.
not
It's
splat.
spatter.
But I
The people
suppose
go
the,
splat.
but
Yeah.
but the splat is more like onomatopoeic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
but like
branding.
in forensics, it's blood spatter. Shout out to Wine and Crime podcast.
There we go.
Please.
I
Drink a
should I
wine,
haven't
do a
watched any
crime.
fucking melt movies this month yet.
Have you watched any Hammer horror?
Yes.
I have.
No, I have not.
And I have because my boss is the biggest Hammer horror fan ever. He's got
Tell me.
like 3 different
How big is he?
he's quite big.
Thomas-
He's got 3 different complete collections of like different re-recordings of Hammer horror.
Holy
Nice.
shit.
I have a question for you on behalf of our listeners, Jacques. What is Hammer horror?
Hammer horror is old British horror that's very spooky
Well,
and very outside of restrictions of filming at the time.
yeah, the news
Also has
is
a lot of
the.
Christopher Lee in it.
It has a lot of Christopher Lee. It has a lot of the classic gothic monsters that you'd associate. A lot of like weird Dracula sequels. And
Yeah.
A lot
like,
of bright red blood.
a
Yeah.
lot of very bad fake blood.
What's really interesting about the Hammer Horrors is they did that thing that the creators of South Park did for their movie, where they would create these red herring scenes when they went to show the censors, like, and they
yeah.
were like, oh, this is gonna be in, and they put like massive focus on it, and the censors immediately
no.
were like, no, you have to take that out, but you can leave the other stuff in. So they were like,
That's amazing.
and they would always lead
That's
them astray
genius.
because under Thatcherism there was lots of
When-
no, you
Yeah.
can't.
When was Hammer Horror time?
70s.
Jason, stop.
Stop what?
Informing
time.
people.
God. Yeah.
Oh, late 60s through to the
Yeah,
late 70s.
late 60s. I was
I
about
think
to
the
say.
first one came out in like 67 or 68 or something.
Okay, so it was after the
Yeah.
era of giant beastie horrors.
Yeah, no, it was after Creature Features. It was drawing on the Hollywood tradition and then just fucking it up.
Classic.
Classic British.
Creature features, mostly popular in the 50s because
Yeah.
nuclear!
Well,
Because
not
of
only because
nuclears!
nuclear, but because Haines Code meant that they couldn't do anything more provocative than
Yeah.
like big scary things.
What if Ant but large?
Exactly. And like, what if?
What about the rest of the body?
Oh dear.
It's just
You're the
rolling on its
worst.
butt.
Oh, I hate you so much right now. But
I-
yeah. No,
what
the
I-
Haines Code just meant that they couldn't do a lot of things. So it's like, well, the Haines Code and racism.
And for the listeners who don't know, what is that?
The Haines Code was a code that was implemented in, what was it, 1932? No,
36.
36. I know it's an even number. This is how my brain remembers things. It's very useful, as you can
So
see.
that's only half of all numbers.
Exactly.
Hey,
And it
that's
was
50-50.
basically a censorship law that came in where they're like, no nudity, no gore, no anything interesting, really.
I
And
disagree
that-
though, because at the moment, creative minds are being
Censored
censored.
by. Oh.
Is that
How dare you
And-
use segues for such nefarious?
quick segue away from that segue?
Please, let's not touch that, just
Let's
like that
re-segue.
man.
Quick segue away from that segue. In spaghetti westerns,
Yeah.
the reason
topic, yeah.
the reason why you see people die on screen is because they didn't know about that.
Yes.
So like they would
Yeah.
put their films out and be like, "Oh my god, you're killing people on screen."
Yeah,
And
basically.
the Italians were just like, "Ah."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yes,
That's-
back to your
So
segment.
like, and then the Haines Code was only revoked in the late 50s, early 60s, which is why horror got good again. But there was that whole period in the 50s where it was just like,
Of cut, back, stab, cut, dead on
Yeah.
the
Not
ground.
even, like, they barely
that's
had
too much.
weapons.
Yeah.
That's too much.
too spooky.
Yeah, they
No,
were
that's why it
barely
was just
even
make it
weapons or anything.
large.
Was it because of the looming war?
That too. Well, it was the looming war. It was the fact that they couldn't be as overtly racist, so the monsters became like a lovely way to code queer folks, folks of color, women, whatever looming
Oh,
threat.
so Lovecraft was like, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he
Pretty
was
much.
Basically,
Like, if
I mean,
Well, he
no,
was
but-
dead by
No,
then.
Jason,
no,
the
he's
ghost.
he's a
he
spooky
was
ghost.
no, he's obviously a ghost. If anyone is a ghost, it's Lovecraft.
It's true.
Jason, didn't you? No, I mean, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Come on, it doesn't get much more obvious than that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
because it was green, right?
No,
Yeah.
you say that, but they go into the Amazon, which is
Yeah.
an othered space.
Well,
they
yeah,
go.
it's the
they-
deepest dark of.
Yeah, it's like it's basically
It's
Heart
just
of
the
Africa
heart
bullshit.
The heart of darkness. Like,
It's
come on.
It's the heart of they're on a fucking boat.
They're on a riverboat.
It is the heart
it's
of
artistic.
darkness.
The African queen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the heart of
Time.
darkness, but with like, South America essentially. But and also oh god, I
The
have
heart
so-
of darkness with dark people.
Yes. Well, the Heart of Darkness was also with dark people. Fuck you, Conrad. What? But yeah, no, I love the creature from the Black Lagoon, but also because those are some of the first like underwater shots in cinema history, and the actor,
Seeing how they did that was mad.
fantastic.
Whoa! Shit. There's a camera. See if anything survives.
We only have one in the world.
Shut up, Christopher Nolan, with your IMAX camera.
Need to film this. I put it in a plane. Christopher, no. Put it in a plane.
It's like, no, these shots, we absolutely have to be on the ground. Okay, put them on the edge of a cliff, though.
Frame it just so.
Okay, this is a
Roger,
question.
you balance
Put it in
it
the truck or
just
gonna
like-
blow up.
Roger
Put it in
Deakins
the
just
truck or
pulling
gonna
his
blow
hair
up.
out.
So how do they film the underwater scenes?
What I was going to say is they had to get an actor who was a trained free diver who could handle the weight of the costume because they couldn't have scuba gear because of the bubbles. So all of those long takes of him, that motherfucker's holding his breath, swimming
Whoa.
like that.
How many did they go through? Like, how
I'm
many of
not
them
sure.
died and then
How
had to
many
get
They
a
didn't
new
even
one?
pay them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like,
Hey man,
But there's
that's show
also the
business.
person who designed the costume was a woman. There's a book that I really want to read called the Woman from the Black Lagoon or something like that, which talks about this. She was a Disney designer originally.
Oh,
and
so she came from racist roots.
Yes,
So
exactly.
she knew what to do.
And she was like behind a lot of the costume work and was completely written out of the film history
Classic.
because you know.
that
Bollywood.
sounds a lot like a Bowfinger situation.
But yeah, no. It's one of my favorite movies just because I'm picturing this guy being like paddling frantically. Like,
The
oh
camera
God.
dude kind of had it easy because he kind of just had like this mini bathysphere.
Yeah.
Really
No,
well.
everybody.
Also, he didn't really have it that easy because he was gonna watch quite a few people just drown.
It's like documentary
Leave it
filmmaking. Don't intervene. Just film.
Like he gets home at night, lies in bed with his
Things
partner,
I've seen.
and just sobs.
I watched 8 people drown. It looked so good.
Honey, I'm gonna take a bath. No.
So what was the next phase after creature features? Because I haven't really
It
gone that
was-
deep into the
it was
60s
like-
horrors.
60s horror is
60s
weird,
horrors
man.
was the birth of
Giallo.
the slasher, essentially, because it's
Late
where
60s, you've got the birds
where
and the
Psycho
slasher.
yeah, Peeping
Peeping
Tom,
Tom, Psycho.
all of those.
Yeah.
And Peeping Tom was great.
It's-
Peeping Tom was
it-
amazing. The point of view work on
Yeah.
that.
It took it more from fantastical horror to like
Visceral
real.
horror.
Yeah, well, it's
well,
the horror
visceral.
of the suburbs, right? Like
Yeah.
60s, you had the expansion of the American suburb and the idea that, like, okay, the war is at home now, right? Like, we're not safe.
The
enough.
Reds are next door.
Yeah, exactly. So
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
exactly. Filthy commies. Yeah. So we have the sort of the proto slasher coming in, but then we also have over the seas. I don't know why I call it overseas when we are not in America. It's so American imperialism. Damn it!
It's just a
They're
lot, there's a
all
lot to
overseas.
unpack there.
We are the overseas.
From a Western perspective,
From the
it's
Western-
based in America.
Yes,
so.
fair. Fucking American imperialists. Down with Trump. What? God, I'm gonna get you guys banned. I love it.
Oh,
Oh,
You really haven't listened
You
to
really
past
have
episodes.
You're hearing what we have said
I
on
on,
our
have-
Breitbart approved right-wing podcast.
on this PragerU sponsored channel.
Yeah, we
Trust
just
me.
like we end every
The
episode.
Joker is the best movie ever.
Hashtag release
Release
the
the
Snyder Cut.
But then it should be
Okay, but you have Giallo cinema coming from Italy and into France and into sort of all of the non-English speaking European countries in general, let's be honest.
No, the foreign countries.
foreigners.
The overseas countries,
Yes.
and places like England.
Wales.
Yeah.
The Welsh.
The
Yeah,
West.
the Welsh.
Which, like, that's when it gets fun for me. Like, and you have sort of the proto roots of one of my favorite genres of horror, which is New French Extremity. So you have Eyes Without a Face, which I'm not going to try and pronounce in the French because fuck that. La, 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 la.
I think it's something like the eyes without a face.
That's the
Beautiful.
one.
Very good,
That's so
Marcus.
Italian.
Wow.
Speaking of the hand movement.
It's a me, horror.
Well, the third most Italian.
Well, come, I would have done French, but I didn't have a cigarette.
Luigi,
Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
so French.
Oh god, no, I'm crying. It's fine. It's fine.
Yes, a cargo.
That's very French of you. I felt like I was in Paris there.
So metropolitan, Dion.
I want to drink wine and smoke a cigarette.
Wait, did you just combine French, German, and Italian into one
Marcus is
accent?
Transylvania.
Marcus's accents are a joy to behold.
I can see
You just
now.
doing-
Vampire, though.
You're just doing James Bond doing anyone ethnic.
Exactly. James Bond is my spirit animal. We've been over
I
it.
can see now that you are very clearly in the tech side of theatre.
No. I sell records.
You were.
I
That's
was in the tech side.
Because that accent was not drama school approved.
You haven't
Called
even-
out, Marcus! You
Ooh,
called
fuck.
out!
Well, you haven't met Claw of Netflix, eh?
I remember
yeah.
Claw of Netflix.
Claw of Netflix.
It's like you're just transported into another world.
Beautiful. But yeah, so
An outer
We love you,
world?
Claw.
it's again a similar thing though
The
with
outer
national
world inside.
identity starting to become a source of anxiety. So for Americans, we have kind of the suburb, this new weird middle class position where your neighbor is your biggest threat, but we haven't really had the serial killer sprees of the 1970s, but the upheaval that is leading to that is sort of in the air, it's tangible, there's a little bit of worry around that. And then overseas we have the French and the Italians kind of grappling with a sort of post-colony identity where they realize they've done horrible things but nobody wants to own up to it, so we're just gonna like
So we're
use
gonna
the
make
human
Cannibal Holocaust!
Exactly.
I have got...
That's and there was like a weird like split in horror in the 70s.
Yeah.
Where one went in that direction and the other one went towards animals killing people.
Yes.
Animals killing teens having sex, to be
Yes.
specific.
Oh,
Eco-horror.
Doing God's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, eco-horror is the thing I really want to learn more about.
I've got a fantastic...
is that where they
Wait.
sort of where they wean
The
the
swarm and
you
the
must have
horror
wa-
off,
you
like,
must
the
have seen
fossil
Orca.
fuels
Yes.
and Piranha. Was it
Finally,
new
someone
green
actually
deal.
watched Orca.
Yeah.
These assholes haven't watched Orca yet.
It's
What
terrible.
What else was in the 70s that was a weird... Night of the Lepers.
Night of the Lepers!
Night of the
Yes, Night of the
Lepers.
Lepers!
How's
It's
that a
about...
movie that I haven't
It's
seen?
literally people like try and kill off bunnies,
Yes.
and then the bunnies become like were-bunnies,
Yes.
Yes.
and start
they grow
killing off
really
the
big,
people.
and it's got really good model work. Okay, here's
They really were the architects of their own destruction.
here's your
When-
Night of the Lepers context. Do you remember in the first Matrix when Neo goes to meet the Oracle for the very first time, and there's all the other kids that might be the one?
yeah.
In that sequence,
that's
there's a
what's
TV,
playing on the TV,
and
yeah.
there's this really bizarre sequence of this model town with these giant bunnies like
Yeah.
looping
That
through
is-
it in slow motion.
That
That's
is Night of the Lepers.
That's where I found out about it, and I watched it, and it's great.
I can't remember where I found out about it, but I immediately had to see it because we're rabbits.
I'm so glad this is all being recorded so I don't have to take notes.
You know, like it's
I'm
Wallace
gonna
and
be
Gromit
legally
just ripped
purchasing
it off.
films
Let's be
all
honest.
night.
Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit got nothing on Night of the Lepers.
No. I really love the way they filmed everything because they were just like they didn't even try to make giant rabbits. They just
No.
had small cameras like really close.
Put the camera really close,
Yeah.
make the models really big,
Yeah.
and just film the bunnies at like 20 frames. It'll
Yeah.
be fine. It'll be all good.
It worked.
Although I will say, if you do watch it, the first like act of it does have some like bunnies screaming and not happiness,
Does.
which
'cause,
I
like,
struggled to get through.
The
Yeah.
American Humane Society, again, because Cannibal Holocaust, that wasn't filmed in America, but anyway.
No.
American Humane Society, not really a thing yet. So,
Yeah.
like, you see some bunnies and you're like, they're like, grabbing
Shaking
them
them,
and
and
shaking
you're just
them,
like,
and
"That's
they're like
not
in
fake."
bunny traps, and they're like that horrible squeal that they
That
make.
scream.
Oh no.
You know, like in
Nah,
Don't
it's okay.
Starve.
It's like, what is
I
that
don't
movie?
watch
We
the
were,
movie.
what's the movie we were watching?
Oh, in the morgue with the dead
Yes,
girl.
it is.
and-
Autopsy of Jane Doe.
There we
Yeah,
go.
Yes, Autopsy of
we got
Jane.
15 minutes into that,
And then
then
the
they hit
cat.
the cat, and we were like, cool, next movie.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
It's a good
Thankfully,
movie.
like thankfully,
I've heard,
in,
but that's my line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
thankfully
I'm not
like in
great with
Alice,
animal torture.
Thankfully, in Alice Sweet Alice, which is also like before it was really a thing.
Yeah.
It's clearly a fake cat that
Yes.
gets
Oh
axed.
god, I'm so glad I'm like speaking to someone else who's seen Alice Sweet Alice right now, because that movie, I can't believe it exists. It's one of those things where if I try and explain the plot to you,
I was about to ask for a quick rundown.
Please do.
Yes,
Actually,
in-
That's
between
sort
the
of a
two of
running
us, we can
gag.
do this.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we can
Really
do
good
this.
summaries of films.
So-
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll try
There
to
are
not.
two kids.
Marcus,
There-
I think
One
our
of
guest
whom-
should have a should have
No,
a
no, no,
stab
no,
at
no! Please don't do this to me.
Yes.
No, I want. No.
You watched it most recently, so
I watched
you go.
it. Wait, if I look at my list, I watched it yesterday.
For context,
I like how you had to look it up. Jesus
It was a visual gag, Thomas.
Look, it's a long fucking list, okay?
Watched it yesterday, Marcus.
Oh, no, wait, 25.
Who
No, that
are
was
you,
Friday.
me that forgets to eat for days?
It was
Okay,
Friday,
for
sorry.
context, we've both been trying to watch 31 horror movies in October. He's done it. I have not
Good
yet.
job. Good job.
So,
Yeah.
We're impressed.
As
Yeah.
we're recording now, I'm
So
26
who's the
for
real
26.
academic?
yeah, him.
Oh.
So
I'm
anyway,
not a real academic, I'm an aspiring professional nerd.
yeah. Alice,
Just a regular
sweet
turban
Alice.
Alice, sweet Alice.
So there are two girls in a very strictly Catholic family. One is clearly the favorite, and the other one is shunned.
Spooky.
Guess
Right.
which one is named Alice?
Yeah.
The mom.
A third party not
got
yet
1
mentioned
second
in
to
the
start the
script.
story.
The shunned one, and she is like exhibiting signs of mania
Ah,
And
yes.
sociopathy.
being
and
hysterical.
sociopathy.
Sonic
And
Mania.
No, she's not being
No,
hysterical.
she is being hysterical because, like,
Is her womb wandering?
no, she,
Yes.
no, she
That's
hits.
the cause of all womanly troubles.
No, she literally, like, in the context of the movie, she starts going crazy because she starts getting her period.
Yes.
So I was right.
So
Yes.
you got
So-
100%
Because
right.
that's what the word hysteria means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets
So, Marcus, you are
hysterical. She
She-
goes
in a
very-
hysterical,
in a very
kills her
I
sister.
love having
you-
4 men explain hysteria to me. This is great.
We're not explaining to you, we're explaining to Marcus.
Okay.
And to Jacques. Interestingly,
So, yeah,
do
full
you
men.
know the cure that they came
Yes,
up with
was the
for hysteria?
vibrator.
Yeah.
The vibrator was
the cure for
invented
hysteria.
because doctors got tired of using their fingers to stimulate women to what they now know is orgasm, which also just makes
they
me.
now.
Doctor just
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm on the
there's actual
clock here.
reports of doctors, like, getting, like, carpal tunnel and
Cramps, yeah. So they invented the vibrator, and then they were like, "Oh shit, women are orgasming. That's what this is."
Oh shit,
which,
she's enjoying it! Stop!
Quick,
Shut
quick,
it down!
cut this off!
She's the witch! But
which also just makes me so sad for every woman who had sex ever in that time
Yeah, like
period.
pre that. Ooh.
Yeah. And so with Alice, sweet Alice, she then also tries to kill her aunt, and
She just kills a lot of
she
people.
just
All
well,
of this just seems
she just
pretty normal.
tries to kill a lot of people.
That's
She
true.
only really succeeds
kills. Yeah, that's true.
in killing her sister,
To be
Yeah.
fair, children are monsters.
Yes.
and she is a monster.
And she
I mean, she does
kill
like
her
a
sister
raincoat.
in a church.
Oh yeah, she
Symbolism.
throttles her sister to death in a church.
Out of jealousy?
Yes.
Yes.
Or just because she's
Out of,
Yeah,
out
out
of
of
concern for
jealousy.
the like pure metal image of throttling your Catholic sister in a church.
Yeah. Then she puts her in
And a fucking
in one of the you know those church seats that have like the flip up
the
seat?
pews.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
pews, right? She puts it in
puts it-
one of them and sets it on fucking fire.
That is
That's
so
pretty
super metal.
It's
That-
a
that
ghost
sounds like
music
an album
video,
cover.
basically.
Sounds like it.
No. And she does it while wearing this
Flaming
this
pew.
yellow raincoat, and you have one of those masks that is a like almost a translucent face.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Those creepy ones.
It is so full of amazing
Lovely.
images.
Yeah.
Flaming flesh.
And the guy in a very bad
Flaming
fat suit.
flesh.
Yes. That is true. That is
Hello,
a terrible fat
Sunday.
suit.
Hello
Terrible
there.
But no, Alice, sweet Alice.
Alice, Sweet
it's an
Alice is a trip.
It's a trip, and it's actually also pretty early in terms of slashers because it came out in
Yeah,
70.
and I feel like there's influence on
that
Carrie
would be a
in that
seminal
film.
film.
Just in
Has to
terms
be.
of thematic
Slasher.
influence. Yeah.
No, because the slashers started.
Technically,
No, actually, no, it's like a decade into the.
yeah, no, so
slasher.
it depends what you define as a slasher. Like, a lot of people consider Halloween the first it's not, it's Black Christmas. But, like, the
Doing a
proto-slashers...
remake of that.
Well, sorry, Halloween is earlier in the year than Christmas. Checkmate.
Checkmate atheists.
Alice, sweet Alice
Well,
is even before
I moved.
Christmas.
I
Checkmate.
moved to start a petition to replace Christmas with Super Halloween.
I'm
Yeah,
for
me-
this.
Mecca
Mecca
Halloween.
Halloween.
You're just gonna,
Halloween.
you're just gonna go to that old well. What's that? It's still a little
Mega Hitler.
Come on.
Throw it all.
And no one has mentioned Halloween 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Love it.
My favorite of the Halloween sequels.
I thought your favorite of the sequels was.
Season of the Witch, yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know, he still hasn't
I
watched
haven't
it.
seen it.
Yes, which we
They're
need
gonna
to fix.
Yeah, they're gonna subject me to it at some point.
Yeah, we
Can
will.
you
Red
join
track.
for this?
Yeah, we gotta do a
Sure.
riff track on
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
For sure.
I would like to join for this because Season of the Witch is my favorite of the Halloween films.
It is bonkers and it fucking hates
so
the
mad.
Irish.
It does hate the Irish.
We look Irish.
My Irish ancestry is curdling in my veins.
It's a me,
Just-
the Irish.
It hates the Irish more than Mel Gibson hates the Jewish.
That is
Ooh, that
impossible.
is a lot of
His
hate.
hatred for them is unquantifiable. Well, actually, it's quite quantifiable.
It's
It's
very
movies.
quantifiable.
Yeah.
There's many things about it.
There's an actual recording of him being pulled over by, and to quote him, Officer Sugar Tits.
Oh yes.
So,
Love it.
Yeah.
Ah, Mel.
Shining
Why you
Star
make
of
Apocalypse
That's what I
Toe so
think of him.
good?
Sorry, I'm just thinking about that 30 Rock episode.
Also, Black Christmas. I just want to bring this up. Black Christmas
The thing that
is the
happens to-
origin of the call came from inside the house.
Yes.
Where's this? Sorry?
Black
Black
Christmas,
Christmas.
1976,
You're right.
was
You're
the
totally right.
original. The call is calling from inside the house.
Yeah.
Spoilers
Wait.
for a fucking decades-old
wait,
film.
yeah.
BT
So-
dubs.
That's
So
a super
Black
solid
Christmas-
70s slasher.
So Black
It really
Christmas
is.
was
It's
then the
Canadian.
first self-aware horror film? Because the 90s is when horror films
No,
sort
it
of
wasn't
got-
self-aware.
No, it wasn't self-aware.
Okay.
It's a case of the police are trying to figure out
They're
where
tracking
the
the
person
call, and then it's
Oh, okay.
And he
Yes,
was
it
hiding
is.
under the crawl space.
Because I know 90s is like where they
that
became
meta.
self-aware.
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
with
Also, you got
those
your date wrong,
teens
it's
against the
74.
slasher.
Yeah, that's
Those
true.
teens.
And they were like, whoa, this is the slasher guy. He's going to kill us. We need to team up and do
No, no, no.
things.
They were definitely not self-aware. They were a
Yeah.
bunch of. Actually, what I really like about Black Christmas as well is that our final girl is actually like a human being. Like her
Yes.
central conflict is that she is arguing with her boyfriend because she wants an abortion and he doesn't want it, which
Yeah.
you would not get in
Wait.
contemporary.
Whoa.
She's the final girl that's done the sex?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Check that for a loop.
yeah.
That's
no.
what I
Therefore,
So
and,
that cinnamon
and
grows.
they actually give you like red herrings
Herrings
up
back.
until the very,
end.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
I must- we
it's
must
a
watch this.
really
Yeah. I've
good
got this.
horror. It has one
on the-
like or two lines that haven't aged well,
Yeah.
but Barb is still like my Patronus. Like Barb is the
Oh,
the
Barb is amazing. This cigarette smoking,
Smoking,
drinking. Like, I'm
drunken-
from New York and you're all fucking peasants.
exactly. She's
love
the
it.
I like
best.
that.
I agree with her.
I like this one. Yeah, I like the cut of her
love
chin.
Barb. I don't know if I want to be Barb or be with Barb, but Barb is amazing.
Fair.
Yeah, no, seriously, Black Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother, which is why also I'm actually excited to see what they do with this Black
With-
Christmas
with the
remake.
remake.
They've
Yeah.
already
Well, the-
made one remake
Well, the
and it was
remake
terrible.
looks completely
Yeah, like
different.
completely different, and I want to see what angle they take
Yeah.
with it. You know?
The
Well,
actress who
they've
played
gotta
Barb
change
passed
it.
away this year, and rest in peace, Barb.
I like it when remakes throw cameo roles to
Yeah.
like original cast members.
It's
It's always
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a little tip
But I
of the
think,
hat.
yeah. But I think with horror in particular, one-for-one remakes don't really
Work.
translate as
No,
well.
because the
Case
thing
in-
that's scary
has
to
changed.
segue,
Ah.
because what causes our fear and anxieties shift, so they don't transpose super well.
Like the Suspiria remake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, is it super...
Completely different.
so different, but
Could
that's
not
what
be
made
more
it work.
different.
It could
But-
be.
It could
be
be
in a
not
rock
called
climbing
Suspiria.
studio.
You don't know it wasn't. You haven't seen it, have you?
I skipped through it.
My first Halloween look of 3 that I'm doing
In
this
your
year
face, Thomas.
was a Suspiria inspired loosely kind of thing. So that's what I was doing on Friday night. Was wearing
Bright colors.
a pentagram on my chest and my face in red with like ridiculous makeup. It was so great.
Nice.
Nice.
Shameless plug for my non-existent makeup skills.
And then the next night you were a sexy one-night stand.
Yeah, I went to a Halloween party where the theme was sexy versions of mundane objects, so I went as a nightstand. Get it? It's a
Oh.
one-night stand.
Oh my god.
Dion has never been more
Wait.
excited to have a guest in this.
Like,
And my
when-
partner
if-
went
if-
as a lamp.
Your plan to replace Thomas is going well.
I always knew it would come.
Oh, I also had a working drawer, so you know how many times I made the joke, do you want to take a peek in my drawers?
Heyo.
When I was still
Contain
potentially
yourself, Dion.
when I was still potentially gonna go to this party, I was gonna be a VHS tape, but the side of the VHS tape was gonna be Thomas's birthday party, but then crossed out for the 1994 World Cup rugby.
95 World Cup.
Whatever, I don't fucking know. I just know that my dad would have recorded my birthday over on it.
Actually, 1994.
Yeah, it would
That
be.
would have been better.
Funny.
Somebody was a sexy crossword puzzle. It was amazing. They'd used a crossword generator to like create a crossword, an actual with like
Sexy words.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's
Weird
cool.
Al tweeted the other day that this year he's for like the many years in a row, like he's
Yeah,
continuing
I
his
saw that.
tradition as going as sexy Weird Al.
That man's
But
so
isn't
on
that
brand.
just Weird Al in a
normal
thong?
Huh?
He normal L'd you.
And then next week I'm going as Willow from Don't Starve. So that's gonna be fun.
Nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
So anyway, the 70s, lots of serial
Well,
killings
we're
going
already
on.
on to the
We're on to
90s,
the
Marcus.
90s.
Keep up.
We
No,
skipped-
we skipped the
whoa,
80s!
we skipped past
We
it.
skipped my decade.
We ran
but
past
also-
the satanic panic of the 80s and
Also,
the
like, the
90s.
80s are considered by so many people to be the golden era of horror, but I'm 70s all the way, I'm sorry. And it's usually people are like, no, the 80s are what people consider the golden era because of nostalgia for their youth. I wasn't
Beyond.
alive in the 70s. I don't think 90s was the golden era of horror. Fucking
Oh
70s.
god, no.
Nobody thinks 90s is the
No.
I mean, we only had 2 halfway decent horror movies throughout the entire 90s, and that was The Cube and
Which was
Event,
also Canadian.
and Event,
Event
Horizon.
Horizon.
I think the big thing about the 80s was that it became
Practical
franchise-based.
effects.
Well,
Yeah.
that too, and it was just franchise-based. So,
Yeah.
like, it wasn't so much that, like, Friday the 13th was just a classic film. It was, like, the Friday the 13th
Yeah,
series.
80s, yeah.
80s
I've
was
got
like the
fun-
birth of the horror icons.
Yeah.
I've got fun facts for
That
you
weren't
about
the old
Hellraiser
Universal
started in the
Friday the
70s.
13th.
So I don't think
I
anyone
think
would
Hellraiser started in the 70s.
It did.
Yeah, but it was
79.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone would
Serialized in
argue
the
that the
80s,
80s
you're right.
films were better necessarily. It's just that, like,
They're
that's when Hollywood
iconic.
They had more of an
marketing
impact.
caught up with it.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
And
yeah.
was able to...
And they were just iconic. They were the first horror icons we'd had since the old Universal monsters.
Funny thing about Friday the 13th.
Another one,
though,
Happy Meals.
And just to speak to the
Oh,
cyclical
you
nature
and
of
the
horror,
total
these
interruption.
iconic, larger-than-life slasher figures like Jason and co. that are monstrous in a way, resurge in the 80s when you've got the Cold War, like that cyclical nature of the things that influence horror, which we're getting again a little bit now, I find. Well, we're having the start of like the return of sort of slasher-esque films. We're starting to have more supernatural horror. We're in a weird time for horror. I love
We're in
it.
such a
It's a
good
good
time.
time.
It's
Actually,
great.
the last
It's a new renaissance.
decade, basically, especially for indie horror.
Has been
It's
so good.
Well,
Oh,
like
it's been
with
good.
production companies like A24, we've
Yeah.
been getting
All hail.
fucking
And Blumhouse.
and
Blumhouse, which
of
like
course.
when it started, I was like, oh.
I am very excited to see how the Universal Monster franchise is going to go under the watch of Blumhouse.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
It's going to be great.
The best Jason out there.
So,
sorry.
Oh.
The only
Jason,
good
Friday
Jason,
the
sorry.
13th, right?
Yes.
He's only in the first one for like all of 3 seconds.
Yeah, no, his mom is the villain.
His mom is the villain, and he only puts on the hockey mask in the 3rd film
but will forever be remembered.
with the hockey mask and the
Yeah.
machete,
Yeah.
which only
Yeah.
came in the 3rd
But
film.
that's my
that's
thing, is like the
iconography.
70s and 80s, you've got a lot of the monstrous feminine. So you've got Jason's mom, you've got like what Barbara Creed, sorry to nerd out on you, termed the monstrous feminine, and she's a film scholar and horror scholar, and she was suggesting that there are essentially 3 archetypes of monstrous feminine, and a lot of them are linked to women's maternal role, right? So the absence of...
mommy.
Exactly. So, like, think of, like, The Brood, think of, like, Jason's mom, think of all of that shit. You either have women being...
Freddy's girlfriend.
Wait, so were all those movies then written by that really tall serial killer guy whose name I can't remember right now?
Wes
Which one?
Anderson.
That like 6-foot
Oh, Edmund Kemper.
Edmund Kemper.
Yes,
who blamed
that's
all his murders on his mother.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good scapegoat.
Yeah.
He's like, Mom
Well,
treated
no,
me
his
bad.
mom
so-"
did fuck him up.
Yeah, like solidly.
Yeah.
But
he's like-
but he's also a murderer.
Yeah,
Still
he
kill
also
people,
then
though.
dismembered
Yeah.
You know,
women
like,
and then had sex with their
I have
dismembered
daddy
bodies.
issues.
He did that in
Don't
the wrong
see me
order.
just killing
That's
men.
super embarrassing.
I
Yeah.
see it. Murders. Left,
All
right.
the time.
Yeah.
Like, your parents can
I
be
know.
assholes and you cannot be awful. Case in point, you know?
I don't know. Jason's a pretty terrible human.
And my parents are nice.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
great parents and
Yeah.
he's terrible.
That's true, and I have a complete asshole on my side, and I am, like, a murderess.
We're twins that were switched at birth.
There we go, that's it. That explains so much.
That's also why you look alike.
Yeah, we look so similar.
Your beards
This
are...
joke really works on an auditory medium.
Well,
Visual
yeah,
gags.
because they can't see that we don't actually
We're
look
n-
alike.
We're known for our
What
visual
we say.
gags.
Yeah.
That's why
Classic.
people. That's why people watch us.
That's our brand. We're funnier than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have... We're missing a lot of running gags this episode.
We are, but that's because we're really focused and because you brought a
We're so
competent.
not focused.
You
No,
brought a
this is the most
competent
focused
guest,
we've
you
ever
idiot.
been. We haven't even we've barely spoken about Zack Snyder. Barely. And we're already, what, like half an hour into this?
More
And
than
40
55 minutes.
Holy shit.
Okay, we need to get going.
And we haven't fucking spoken.
So techno
Snyder
horror.
cut.
Techno horror
The 90s.
I take no horror.
featuring the film The Virus,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is my
The
favorite
Virus.
of those.
Oh, was that with
Cube.
the ship?
Yes,
like
the
that.
ship, the Russian
I still need
ship
to
with
watch
the
Brain Scan.
Oh,
That's
Brain
on my
Scan.
list.
Brain Scan.
Oh man, that's good shit. It's like ridiculous because like in the 90s the main thing
I suppose
was
They Live would count.
They Live
They Live
totally
would-
counts.
Yeah.
They Live, aka the most effective socialist propaganda film.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's the one that's the most well remembered,
Yeah.
and it's fun.
It is so
It is
Like,
fun.
I
Well,
don't,
that's what you get when you cast Roddy Piper.
dude. That like the casting for that film is fucking ridiculous. Hearing that man try to deliver his lines is maybe the most painful
And in
thing
fact,
ever.
it's like Keith David.
fight scene.
Jesus.
Who just fights Keith David?
I love
not
Keith David.
Yeah,
Love
Keith
Keith
David is a
Keith,
space.
it's funny because every time he's trying to say something, Keith David, you can just see his face, just like, oh my god, this man is an idiot.
I have come here.
To kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum, and you're just like, oh my god.
The casting director in you must be shriveling up and
It
dying.
like I was no, the casting director in me is just like, this man was hired by an executive producer and had nothing to do with casting whatsoever. Because there's no way.
Yeah, the main thing that drove techno horror in the 90s, I guess, was the fear of Y2K. Remember when that was a thing?
that was a thing.
That was a big ass thing.
Like,
Yeah.
it was
Is
huge.
your Pentium DOS 2 Y2K compatible, or is it gonna explode?
I don't know. Mine exploded and killed my puppy.
Oh my god.
Interestingly, the techno horror was done super well last year with Upgrade.
I have not
Yeah.
yet watched that.
Upgrade
good.
is fan.
I need to watch it. But
Fantastic.
it's not just Y2K though. If you
It's
think about the
tits.
kind of
Like, that's
techno
how good
horror,
Upgrade
it's
is.
the rise of techno sort of capitalism, if you think of it. God, I sound like such a fucking ivory tower ponce right now. But like, it's fine.
You know, with the dot-com boom in the
Yeah,
mid-90s,
exactly.
like,
You
technology is gonna murder us all and
It's-
take away all our
And it's
jobs.
also, it's the faceless horror, right? It's like, Cube, you never have a villain. The
Yeah.
villain is the technology, right? Because it's gonna like,
Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man, exactly.
Yeah.
Holy, have you watched Lawnmower Man?
Yes,
recently?
that's exactly what happens when you put the next stage of human evolution
Oh
into VR.
my god.
I thought Lawnmower Man was that South African guy who went to go live in Canada, and then there was a tornado, and he thought, "Screw it, I'm gonna mow my lawn. I've got
Yeah.
things to do."
That, but it's also a film about a dude that is living as a
mean-
ward of the
mentally
church.
handicapped.
Yes.
Pierce
According
Brosnan,
to
who is a
Predators,
scientist,
According
then
to?
captures him because the
Predator.
monkey
Oh, yes.
escaped, and then makes him super smart using science. And
Yeah.
then, but he can't control the smarts, and he becomes this force of technology and uploads himself into the internet. It's a strange
It's
movie,
trippy as
Oh,
hell.
Jesus.
and he's very strong.
This sounds
Do you know
like
why
somebody's-
he's very strong?
the monkey?
Do you know why?
Is he mentally handicapped? Oh god.
I
In
hate
other
it.
countries,
has-
they say,
Thanks, I hate it.
He has above average like strength and resilience, and he can withstand
that's-
more punishment.
You know what's interesting
because
though? Then
doesn't
the,
understand
the
pain.
convergence of the sort of the really shitty representation of mental handicaps and neurodivergence is in Cube as well, because we have our, I hate this phrase and I apologize, but it is the phrase that they were using at the time. We have our idiot savant.
Oh, right. I remember him.
Oh,
He was really good at doing the
I
pattern
can
things.
slip a running gag in here, or at least something that we have to touch on. So you mean like Zack Snyder's Lex Luthor?
Ayo!
There it is.
Now we're on
now
track.
we're on, Brad.
Now we
Now
got
we're
it.
now we got it
Nah.
going.
Everyone at home just took a drink.
All three of them.
Watching that drink for the past hour, like, when are they gonna do it?
Yeah.
The
no.
live stream, like the chat, just exploded.
F's in the chat, boys.
Yeah, no.
Chris F. No,
Yeah, that was a very common kind of trope.
It was becoming a thing, and like, so that's not so much what I'm writing about in regards to neurodivergence. And for like people who don't know and didn't guess, I am neurodivergent. I am autistic. I'm on the spectrum. So like, it's really interesting to me. A lot of the things that code, like the creepy kid, this is more what I'm writing about, are like traits that you would associate with stereotypes around autism. And what I argue is that is an extension of a cultural mythos around the changeling. And then I talk about that in regards to Jordan Peele's Us, because that's fun.
Because it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It is.
I think they put those characters in a lot of horror films, especially early horror films.
Yeah.
A, because they could get away with it,
Yeah.
and B, because it provided
It's
it
an
provides
other.
it's an
Yeah.
other that provides writers an easy exposition character.
Yeah.
A character that will inherently know what's going on, even though there's no way they
Or
possibly
needs
could.
to have
because they-
things explained to them.
Exactly.
So
like
you have
Matthew
two like
Lillard in
things.
Scream.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you have two extremes on that, which is they either serve as an exposition tool where you have to explain everything to the character, or
Or
there's
they
that trope
inherently
that like
know.
people on the spectrum are somehow more likely to have like supernatural visitation or something, like we're somehow open to like external...
oosphere.
Exactly, to the oosphere.
I believe
which
it's
is fun.
pronounced the ether.
I don't fucking care.
But like that interests me. But even when there's no character that's explicitly on the spectrum, some of the coding is very spectrum-y, which is the academic term, right? No, it's
Yeah,
not.
very spectrum-y.
Very spectrum-y.
But like, what qualifies
Spectrumish.
like a creepy kid in horror? They're silent, so they're non-verbal a lot of the time. They may withhold affection. They may have odd behaviors and tics. They may rock.
They don't
So
look you in the eyes.
They don't look you in the eyes. They don't show their parents' affection. Like, all of these things are
Look at me,
classic.
Damien. It's all for you.
There's another one.
Yeah.
That's being locked in the vault, by the way.
And did you guys get a chance to watch Eli on
No,
Netflix?
No.
not yet.
Someone told
Oh
me
my
there's
God,
someone
you
told me
guys
there's a
gotta watch
twist,
it.
and then
It's
I'm not
good.
gonna watch it.
No, it's got
That's
such.
the problem. I do the same thing. Like, everyone's like, watch this thing, watch this thing. I will get to it 3 years later because I don't know why. Actually, I
guys
do know
have
why.
lot-
I'm
common.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Watch Stranger Things." It's like 80 Stephen King and synth.
But good.
It's all you. I'll fight you. These books are great. Don't use
Listen,
films against
Stephen
it.
King works well for adaptation, but he's a shit writer.
I'll fight you to the death.
Okay, bring it. I think I can
Death
take you.
battle!
Yeah, not in physical.
Next time,
obviously.
death battle.
But yeah. But it's like 80 Stephen King, that sort of
But good.
Spielbergy Stephen King kind of thing. In other words, inherently excellent. And
Cocaine King.
Like since,
Cocaine
and like
King.
it basically took me 2 years to get around to
Yeah.
it because everyone was telling me.
I'm
watch
we were
having
doing
that
the
with
same
Dark right now. Like, everyone's like, no, you
watch Dark!
And
Everyone's
I'm
like that.
Yes, but like also, I have pathological demand avoidance, so it literally is a thing.
No,
I love
Eli is.
I'll watch Eli.
It's bad. It's like it's
Tonight.
6 out of 10, right? But the twist comes so far out of left field. You're like, what?
Nice.
Like what?
I will watch it.
I like
tonight.
that.
What?
That
Yeah,
is
you're
good.
gonna send it to me. You'll be at the middle of the night. You'll be like, the fuck did I just what?
Key.
Nice.
I'm
It can't
expecting
be.
it.
It can't be as bad as the end of Annihilation.
Nothing can be as bad as Annihilation.
I thought you
I
guys
like Annihilation,
Annihilation
and then
terrible.
look,
hate
I
Annihilation.
quite like the aesthetics of Annihilation.
Oh yeah, from a
Yeah,
visual
that's-
design
Well,
standpoint.
I like the
design is
aesthetics
great.
of the prequel trilogy. This
Look,
is-
okay, I have thoughts and feelings about the prequels, and they are this.
That would have been perfect.
That would have been a perfect high point.
Another visual got caught you by the centimeters.
Again, he motioned to cut off the sound for those of you who can't see through sound. But my thoughts and
Just get better at seeing through sound, really.
Yeah.
my thoughts about the prequels are this. The premise is fascinating, the politics in the prequels is great. Those films could have been amazing if anybody on that motherfucking set tried!
Well, no,
Except
no,
Sam
no,
Jackson.
Including George
no,
Lucas.
if George Lucas just let other people write and direct his film, and he stayed on the VFX side, because especially Phantom Menace, we
Oh, yeah,
we
dude.
rewatch it. The
Holy
set
God.
pieces and the designs
Oh, yeah.
and the ambition of it, and like it's like nothing else.
We got the whole
Also, the
Gungan
premise
city, like,
would have been
super cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
The rise of Palpatine,
Yeah.
the kind of the politics of the Sith versus the Jedi, the idea that the Jedi aren't inherently good because they can actually have huge blind spots in their failure to recognize emotion. Like,
And are
great
totally
shit.
cool with murdering kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
Kids
But yeah,
are
so
bad.
Annihilation feels like that to me. It's just,
Yeah.
especially the last act. was
The
just-
last act
What
is...
a train wreck. My favorite.
I thought you guys were exaggerating
No,
until
no,
I
no, no,
watched
no,
it.
no, no.
I was like,
It starts off with the film like elbowing you in the side, going,
Look,
"It's a metaphor."
listen,
It's a metaphor.
Annihilation,
And then by the end of it, it's like big.
Annihilation is my favorite cancer film.
Yes.
The dialogue in that film may be the hokiest dialogue I have
yeah.
ever
Shit, dude.
heard in my life. Ever. And again,
For those of you who
I
didn't
watch
get it-
A24 films and enjoy them.
Yes, same. I love them. I really want a Black Phillip plushie.
I've only watched one A24 this October.
Which
Which
was?
Midsommar.
You know what? It
Ooh,
follows?
yeah.
Oh no, I did. Yeah, that's also.
What was that? Sorry.
It
A24.
follows.
Now I've got to edit that out because you did a clap.
Well, Jason, I'm terrible.
When did It Follows come out?
It Follows was
2015.
2015.
Wow.
Hey! I
Oh,
remember
okay.
the thing.
Sorry, I thought he said A24. That came out this year. I was very confused there.
No, he's only watched...
I was like, how on earth have I watched the movie 4 times? It's only come out this year.
That's a new record for Dion.
Which
Yeah.
one?
It Follows.
I love It Follows, but my favorite is The Vivitch.
Yeah. The
Love the
Vivitch.
The Vivitch.
Ooh, that was a good spooky
That was
weekend.
good
I
spooks.
love it. I really, 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 really want, like, a Black Phillip tattoo, and I'm not someone who gets fandom tattoos.
Justin's got a
we
Black
watched both those
Phillip
in the same
Funko.
weekend, didn't we?
Yeah,
I know, I
we
love
had
it.
a good, we had a
We had a
fucking
good
good
That's a
weekend.
good weekend.
What is the other really good weekend we had recently? With the
Creep.
and
Oh, Creep 2 was
Creep
the
2,
trip.
the
Hole in the Ground.
The Invitation is great.
The Invitation.
I love,
Love
the Invitation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I loved watching the invitation with you guys
Oh,
because you
no.
guys get
we
super
can't do
affected by
social-
that sort of thing.
The
The
only
social
horror that
anxiety.
still affects me in any like visceral way is that kind of social
See,
anxiety.
I feel no anxiety ever.
Yes, I've
Ever.
noticed this
so,
about you.
So societal anxiety is even more removed. So
Yeah.
for them, they're quite open
I'm
to
like
it.
someone
so
who has to
they're like,
watch like The Office and
I
Arrested
can't watch-
Development in like
I
2-minute
can't
bursts.
watch The Office.
so they're
the cringe
they're
in
screaming
The Office
on the
is
couch
too
and
intense
just
for me.
making
Oh, you
the
think
most
that's-
horrific noises, and I'm just like, yes, yes, give it to me.
Because
No,
the
no,
thing
my,
is, what
my
we-
anxiety is so far over the hill that I relish in how little cringe is in those types of shows.
I can't
Like
watch
Peep
it.
Show, I can marathon
No.
all 8
No.
seasons of that
No.
shit.
Show.
I've never managed to watch
thing
a
is-
full episode in one
Same.
sitting.
You were literally institutionalized for it at some point.
Well, yes. So, I mean, that's
Yeah,
nothing
no.
to me. Like, I find it fucking hilarious.
I can't get through that. I can't.
Yeah.
So the Invitation, I'm with you on that.
The
like,
thing is, Dion
are
and
we
I also
segueing into what
throw
we actually
ourselves-
find effective in horror now?
Yeah, let's segue
Why the
into
fuck
that.
not?
Because the thing is, I enjoy watching horror films with Dion because he and I watch them the same way.
Which is
we
in
kind
dead
of
silence,
let go
or-
of logical thought and just throw
Yes.
ourselves into
Yeah.
the world
Into
of
the
the
internal
movie.
So we're
logic of the
fucking
thing.
like throwing ourselves around.
And I'm just sitting there going,
So
There's nothing
So
worse than
movies
watching
that
a horror
people-
movie with someone who's going,
But that's not. Oh my god.
this is not internally consistent with the logic of the world.
Mm.
Why didn't they,
I absolutely
why
adore
didn't
my
she
partner
just tell
when
her
they're
the
like
plans?
that. And I'm
Why
like,
didn't
no,
she
no,
just
no,
tell
just
them the
willing
plans?
suspension of disbelief. Just
Yeah,
shh.
exactly. I mean, you're there to watch a spooky movie for the point of getting spooked. So why be there like, "Ooh, I'm a brave big man. I'm not gonna
It's
get
not
spooked."
even that. He's just like, wait, but I'm confused by the logic. And I'm just like, just pretend that you're not. It's fine.
just throw Hitchcock at him like, you're dull. That way of thinking is dull.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not supposed to be logical. It's supposed to be exciting.
Although this person is a logician, so I can't blame them.
Oh, like
Yeah, like,
card
like,
magic or juggling.
no, logician. See,
They prefer the term illusionist? Dogs do tricks, Dion?
Mathematical illusionist.
They didn't want to be taken seriously.
no, like their thesis is on philosophy and logic, like pure logic, like algebra for logic.
So it's
So-
fairly important.
No, it's completely useless ivory
Yeah.
ivory tower bullshit.
No, no,
like
I mean for them and their way of
yes,
thinking.
yes. So like,
Well, I mean,
every
it's like
now
people. It's like people that can't watch like sort of science-based thrillers like
Yeah.
Orphan Black or whatever.
Because it's just like
Martina's
too much.
friend's husband, he's I think a geneticist or something.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
have
he
it with
can't,
book
he can't watch
adaptations.
it. Like he watched half of.
Keyboards also has some hang-ups with stuff, isn't it?
Keyboards. Yeah, I have a friend who's an underwater archaeologist.
Yeah.
And like he's just.
That's still the coolest job in the
I
world.
know.
He's
right?
heavy into the actual
Are you getting it-
sciences.
do you get him like an oxygen tank for Christmas?
I'm gonna buy him actually a dry suit for Christmas.
The dry suit that comes with a pith hat.
Yes. Because
And
that's
some legs so he can walk on the land and find a prince.
that'll be keyboards. It's my dream for him.
No.
But he's heavy into like the physical sciences. So
Yeah.
whenever he watches movies that kind of take
And
liberties, he
I-
just like can't
It's a
disconnect
visceral
from it.
thing.
And
Like
it
if
makes
I
him
watch
angry.
if I watch a film that has like people performing music or anything.
Oh yeah,
like,
and you
it's
can
not
see
like-
that they're not playing the
It's
notes.
not like you're trying to be it's a visceral reaction.
Yes.
Like Martina took me to watch Pitch Perfect,
I-
and they start doing that what the fuck do you call it?
Acapella?
Acapella shit like in basically what is like a sports stadium
With
like
no
people
mics.
and then they're all just like and like it's all subtle and everyone's fucking into it and I'm like fuck off. I'm literally there like in the cinema with like sitting like this.
I am
My
like
God.
that with book adaptations a little bit. I've gotten better, but I used to be that person who's like, that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened.
Nah, book adaptations you have to you can't
have
watch
to
them.
let go.
It's
You
an
have to
alternate universe version of
because
the story.
because film
But
structurally
my-
has to be like a 3-act thing. It has
Yes,
its own
no,
logic.
I know,
Yeah.
but there is still a part of me, especially with like my gothic lit nerd, that's like, is that a Shirley Jackson? Or, is that a reference to that? Is that I'm that person?
For me, it's like that when Batman uses guns. Because even though I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a different universe, yeah.
You mean like when Frank
like-
Miller writes the Superman comic, Jason?
Oh,
Oh.
you
You
heard
like
me.
when
Did
Frank
me
Miller
sad.
turns everyone into a white
Okay.
supremacist, Jason.
A white supremacist Jason. You
Okay,
could just
so
say
get,
Jason.
to get back on topic.
Yes,
We are on
can
topic.
cut all of
This
that.
is all horrible.
All like any kind of horror can scare me. There's no
Hmm.
horror that I can't get into because of
Yeah.
what we just said about Dion and I throwing ourselves into
I
it.
think I'm similar, but
So there's nothing really that I'll watch that I'm like, me.
I find my criteria has become like, does the film stay with me? So there's a lot of horror that while I'm watching it, I can throw myself in, I can immerse myself, it's one of the things that got me into horror, like, because I'm a fairly recent convert to horror. I've only been watching horror for the last 4 or 5 years, because before that I was like, oh, I have anxiety, I shouldn't watch horror, and then I
Oh, anxiety with horror is the most fun.
Exactly. And then I
Holy shit, it's
discovered
great.
that, like, oh, I can manage my anxiety by getting scared on purpose and feeling the catharsis and which is, like, the best thing ever.
Exactly.
So I think I've done a fairly good job of catching up for someone who hasn't been watching it their whole life. Thanks, it's the
Yeah.
autism. But
Hyper obsession.
exactly. I literally made like a 6-page Google Doc and worked my way through it. I was like, these are the important films in every movement of horror. I will just,
Sheesh.
yeah. No,
Sounds
That's
organized.
dedication.
That's terrifying.
yeah, no, welcome to my brain.
That is a horror.
Yeah,
That is-
my brain is the horror. But what I do
organization.
find is that stuff doesn't linger in the way that it used to when I was first getting into it. But the few films that do are home invasion horrors, because
Is that your number one
that is
classic
the thing
spooks
that is
affects you?
the thing that scares
So
the
Last House on the Left.
Last House on the Left, The Strangers.
Yeah.
Fuck's
Have you seen Hush?
Hush?
Have you seen
Yes.
Hush? Yes.
Oh, I love Hush
I
so
love
much.
Hush.
It's-
So your one that set you off is Home Invasions.
Home
Mine
Invasion
is creepy
and Rape
clown
Revenge.
dolls.
Rape Revenge scares the shit out of me
So-
because I'm a woman.
Irreversible.
Yeah.
I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah.
Hostel.
But I do get a lot out of them because of the revenge part.
Have
Yeah.
you seen Revenge?
Yes, I love revenge. I can talk about it for hours. And then the thing that
Was my
isn't,
favorite
like,
movie of 2017.
so
was.
good. But the thing that for me is an irrational one, because the first two are like, this could happen things, and that's what's scary
Yeah, of
about
course.
them.
You live in South Africa. Jesus.
Yeah. I have had home invasions
Shit's
happen.
real out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, and the other thing with Home Invasion that I really like is watching the protagonists work out how to get out of the situation, which is what I loved about Hush. But the thing that's completely irrational and that is just purely a visual spook, the way that some people are about clowns, I am about the Grey, those aliens with the long fingers. Uncanny Valley, I can't. X-Files as a kid freaked me out because of the shots of I can't handle it.
So that's your classic irrational spook.
Yeah.
Dion, yours is forests.
Yeah, mine.
Oh, so the ritual must have been fun.
Recurring
the
nightmare that I have. I think it's because I watched Blair Witch when it came out on cinema,
Yeah.
and that ending
Yeah.
destroyed me. So like I have recurring nightmares where I'm either wake up in the middle of a forest and there's like a house where I know there's something evil and it's
Right.
dark, or in the middle of the ocean.
I can't
And
handle
I've
that.
got no idea how I got
I
there. There's no
can't-
logic to it, but I just
No.
wake up in the middle
So
of the
your
ocean.
fear, your biggest spook is based on isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like and the irrational.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason that I went to sleep in my bed and now I've woken up in this forest and I'm
Yeah.
here now.
Yeah. I have the like weird comfort in the forest. Like I feel maybe it's because I'm like the Wicked Witch of the woods. Actually, I'm the scariest thing in the forest.
What's your irrational spook, Thomas?
Clowns, man. It's gotta be clowns every time. Clowns and the elderly.
The elderly are creepy.
What actually
So It Chapter 2 really scared the shit out of you, huh?
You have to watch Terrifier
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you
Clown
showed me a
slasher.
scene.
Oh yes, jeez, Terrifier is
Why
fucking
would I
hardcore.
want
Yeah.
to
I
do
told
that?
you it's hardcore.
No, I watched
Just
it
the
a
opening
while back.
scene of Dion showed the opening scene.
Yeah, the
that
opening scene,
interview.
and then I showed you the lady being
Yeah.
cut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Oh, the
was-
one,
That
the
sounds
one where
rad.
she's like upside down. That,
It's,
that,
but
it's
it- but
kind
that's
of
still
Bone Tomahawk, but not as good.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
That
like the thing is like Bone Tomahawk. It was way more effective because
Yeah.
it was like you were in reality. With Terrifier, you're in
You're
this
so not in the
heightened 80
world of the
Yeah.
real.
bullshit like
It's
from the
bright
beginning.
red blood kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how I knew the website Film School Rejects was utter trash and should never be listened to ever?
How?
Is they did a list of top 10 desert horror films.
And Bone Tomahawk wasn't on there.
Not on there, and I was like, cool. So I don't ever have to listen to anything you people have to say.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your irrational spook, Marcus? What gets you?
What gets you goat?
The thing is, I don't really get scared by horror movies that often or ever. But I guess what I find the creepiest is everything to do with like children.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
fair.
Alice, Sweet Alice, or It's Alive.
Yeah.
Okay, It's Alive
Children
is a
of
bit
the
irrational.
Corn?
Children of the Corn.
The
Brood.
The Brood was pretty, like in the tall grass, like for the
I
first
really
half.
did not like In the Tall Grass.
Yeah, it's not great,
I've
but
never
like,
watched it,
but
yes.
the
It's
kid,
true,
like
right?
Oh,
the
yeah,
first
the kid,
half where
yeah.
like you think we pretty much think the kid is the antagonist. I was
I
like,
think my
creepy.
my review of it on my horror account, just plugging, follow me at Jane Scare. I'm kidding. Was like it's
No, please
convoluted
do
and
follow Jane Scare.
it's convoluted and unsubstantial.
Yes.
And I can do convoluted, as I've said. I like A24 films, but they need to be substantially convoluted.
My spook is like ventriloquist dummies.
So Dead
And
Silence
we
was
share
great
we
for
share
you.
one other
Yeah.
thing, which is single mother with problem child.
Oh, that is my
John-
biggest
So the
fear.
Babadook was great.
I will
watched that
never watch that
together.
movie again.
And we were
Ever.
just
The first
we were
half
on
of that
the
movie.
floor.
I wish I could have been there. so I
I
could have
wanted
just
to see the.
fed off you people.
uncontrollable like
They should watch Mama.
You
They
guys
should watch Mama.
That is the,
The
one
Guillermo
with
del Toro one.
is that the one with the plastic surgery?
No.
Okay.
It's the one with the
The
with
feral children.
Yeah, the two.
Yeah, there's feral kids.
Yeah, two feral kids. That's fuck that.
Yeah.
Because there is a.
But they are problem
And what's her
childrens.
name? The really
German horror
beautiful
movie that we
girl
watched.
who was in Crimson Peak that was the villainess.
plastic surgery.
Jessica something. She's in It Chapter 2. Help me.
Jessica Chastain.
Thank you, Jessica Chastain, aka my future wife.
Oh, you mean
Good
the
choice.
alien from Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, no. She's I
She
I love
is.
her.
She is.
I don't remember.
Her
She's not.
face, her face looks like cherubs
remember.
descended and carved it out of marble.
She
Who's
was
this?
too good for Zero Dark
Who's
Thirty.
this?
Jessica
Jessica Chastain.
Chastain.
Oh yeah.
Is she
Sorry,
was,
they're
is she
both
the one
just
that was in
lazing out about
the
Jessica Chastain.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Oh no, man! Who am I
No.
thinking of? I'm thinking about I
Yeah.
know the older actress.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you saw her recently in It Chapter 2.
Yes.
And then also in
In
Dark
another film
Phoenix.
we
Wait,
never
no,
talked
no,
about.
I'm getting all my fucking...
You're getting a Jessica's
Jessica
mixed up.
Chastain.
all my
She was
Jessica-
in Crimson Peak as well, just being too good for this world.
And in Zero Dark 30, being too good for that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I know that.
Oh, here's another fun fact. Sorry, about Alice, Sweet Alice.
Yes.
The sister that gets murdered, the younger
Yes.
sister, is played by Brooke fucking Shields.
Yes, I know that.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a
That's
something.
that is a something.
that is something.
So I think this has been a very on-topic episode.
Strangely,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm...
I mean,
I feel like
weren't
I haven't
exactly-
contributed much knowledge. I apologize.
You
No,
contributed
the
the
only one that
actual knowledge.
contributed.
I think Marcus did more.
Marcus did nothing.
Marcus
No, I don't do anything. I just repeat what other people say, and then I sound smart. But
Well, sometimes what you do is you repeat what they say, but before they say it,
Yes.
so you can take credit for it.
exactly.
It was very sneaky.
That is sneaky. That is
I'm
impressive.
I'm just really good with
Can we just,
remembering dates.
That's why
before
I'll
we
get
wrap
some
up,
hate
can
to
we
you.
just talk about this trend in horror that's like coming up, or trends that are recent? Because that's something I find interesting.
It's, what trends are recent? Because it's super diversified at
It's
the moment.
super diversified, but there's so much fucking neon. Neon.
There's a
and synth.
lot of
Yeah, but
neon.
there's that whole 80s resurgence
I think that's
thing
more
that's
due
awesome.
to 80s resurgence
Yeah.
than due to horror resurgence.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, but I find that interesting, and I think we're having a little bit of a folk horror resurgence because, like, obviously Midsommar, but before that we had like The Ritual, like the like, which isn't pure folk horror, but it's the
based
nature
on-
horror and folklore horror, which is interesting to me.
I gotta say, the most horrifying
Even
thing
the
in that
Babadook, when you
movie,
think about
Yeah.
the most horrifying thing in that movie wasn't in the forest at all. It was the bottle store.
The
Yeah.
bottle
Oh,
store,
yeah.
yeah.
And that fantastic scene where he's running and running
then
through
he
the forest,
runs
and the
into
bottle
the-
store
yeah.
is in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tasty.
That was a
such
movie.
good.
That was very
Love
good.
the design of the spook as well.
Yeah, the creature design was great. I do love a good folklore sort of inspired thing. But like even before that, we had what the fuck was it called in the UK, Wakewood, and which is not that great. But we did have a little bit of a mini folk horror resurgence, and maybe it's just because I'm researching folklore stuff right now, so my brain is just
Yeah,
like
He's
like-
keyed into it.
yeah, but I'm noticing that trend, and I'm like, ooh, it's kind of reached the pinnacle in Midsommar, obviously, which is just the Wicker Man plot
Yeah.
beat for plot beat, basically. But I
Yes,
love
Still
but it's
good.
always
Yes.
sunny.
yeah.
And that
In Philadelphia.
it is. Yeah, Midsummer creeped me out because
I
like-
have never been more
Horror
scared
in the
of flowers.
day
Yeah.
is the spookiest.
And what I absolutely loved about Midsummer, spoilers, was the misdirection.
Yes!
Yeah.
yeah.
The bait and switch
Because the whole
is
time you're like,
fantastic.
oh shit, don't become the May Queen, you're gonna die.
Yes!
You're the
gonna die.
sacrifice.
It's like the poster even, like
Yeah.
you're at the
Yeah.
crown crying, like, oh no!
And instead I was like, yes, get it, girl. Kill.
Because it's always, you choose the
It
the,
to
the
me
queen
had a
and they
very
become the
similar
sacrifice
thing
to the, nature
the
thing.
witch, where like I know at the ending I'm supposed to feel one thing about the female protagonist, but I feel the opposite, which is I'm supposed to feel terror and horror, but instead I'm like, get it, girl, go.
I'm pretty sure that's the intended
Yeah,
thing.
I think,
Right.
I think
Like,
of, the ending of Midsummer is very yes, May Queen.
Yes, May Queen. I love it.
you're not
All
allowed
I
to do that,
know
Marcus.
is
so
Yes, I
old.
am.
is,
so
uh,
old.
Turns to dust.
both of his movies hit me hardest in
Ari
the
Aster.
beginning,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
went down.
Yeah, he's the king of a good open.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm
Because when we went to go see
When-
Hereditary
when-
in the cinema,
Jesus.
Yeah, Hereditary fucked these guys up.
Hereditary.
there was
That telephone
absolute
pole.
I
there's
never-
absolute silence.
It
in
was
the cinema.
basically a year, and I'm someone who very easily like lives himself into horror and like
Yeah.
really gets
Cute
emotional.
couples
Like it was
costume for
basically a
Halloween.
full year before I could really like watch a horror film and be invested in it after Hereditary.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
fucked me-
because it
I
broke
was-
horrors for
Yeah.
us.
no,
I was
it created this
Midsommar,
yardstick that was
spoilers.
so unreachable
Yeah,
by
no,
others.
with Midsommar, spoilers for Midsommar, by the way. But the second that she read that email and was like, it's the dark place and I'm taking mom and dad, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, no, oh god, oh god,
Christ.
oh shit. I know exactly where this is going and I was just waiting for it to happen. And then it did, and there's that guttural
That
scream
scream,
of
yeah.
her over the phone.
That
No!
scream,
I-
that scream,
and
and
Tori
it-
Ast-
yeah.
Yeah, my whole body just like stopped.
It's like all your blood
Yeah,
just
yeah.
left
I feel
your
it.
Yeah,
body.
I have goosebumps, and I was sitting there. I'm mentally ill. I'm with two mentally ill people, and all three of us just went. like that.
Official cat.
What I will say is like I applaud like the Suicidal Sisters' commitment. I mean, the way she taped the monoxide thing to her face.
Jesus.
That is
That is-
so fucking hardcore.
That
She
is
just got like her parents.
no, she's
exactly.
like, fucking, I'm
She's
gonna
like-
tape this
She
thing
could
to
have
my
just gone to sleep.
Yeah.
But like, it would that man makes some.
I
That man has a
was-
strange obsession with really hectic
also
face
but
trauma.
also-
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that she would do that because it's a similar thing to what David Foster Wallace did in real life,
Yeah.
which is when he hung himself, he bound his hands and
To
feet
make sure he couldn't
so that
stop
he couldn't
himself.
stop himself.
Yeah.
It's just hardcore to see.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a terrifying
it's
shot.
a triggering shot as fuck.
How
Yeah.
to open your movie to make sure the audience is paying attention.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Also, that boyfriend, I wanted to slap him
Oh,
from.
what?
I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's,
That's the
it's
thing.
such
It's
a like.
he's
No,
written
there
so
were these
good
two.
thought.
When
Yeah.
I was watching it, there were these two dude bros behind me being like, "Oh, she's so much, hey?" Did it like they were like agreeing with him, and I was like, "You are exactly
Go get
what
into a
the-
bear suit.
Alright, I think that's a good place to
That's a
end.
good place.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug, Juanita?
Anything I want to plug? I have a horror account which is Jane Scare, spelled like Jane Eyre, which is SCAYRE. Because I
If Jason remembers, he'll put a link in the description.
Nice.
He
Send
probably
me a link
fucking
and
will.
I'll send you a link. In theory, I have a spoopy Jane Scare Twitter, but it's mostly me complaining about Tinder, which is the scariest thing of all.
Well, I mean, yes.
Well, we've got that horror app movie coming out.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh no, with the wrong tagline.
That's the true horror.
That
Bad
is the
copywriting.
true horror.
That is the true horror. The
And
true
I can-
horror is the gig economy.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of recommendations, you've been hearing nothing but recommendations
Yeah.
this whole
It's
episode.
just
so.
been solid.
But
looking
if you
for
want
something-
So
more,
play the Outer Worlds.
yes. So if you want more, when I've completed my 31 Days of Horror challenge, I'm gonna do a best of list on the horror Instagram, and I'm gonna talk about some of the stuff just in a very casual way. I was originally gonna like properly like do some visual things for it, and now I'm like I'm tired.
Look,
Fair.
I will be first in line to go and speak to whoever the fuck is running October. And
This is
I'm
meant
gonna
to
have
be
a
my
word with them.
month.
This is a very poorly run month. And
I
whoever is
agree.
responsible is going to get an
This
angry
is meant
letter.
to be gay Christmas. I'm
Please
supposed to
nerf.
enjoy the shit out of it, and I've just been tired. On that note,
I have something to plug,
Yes.
and that is
Your
the
butt.
do you have any butt plugs?
Beat you to it.
that is the fucking phenomenal, beautiful Litho collection of classic
Oh,
horror
yes.
monsters that Sideshow
Ooh,
Collectibles
yes.
is selling for the low price of 15,000 rand.
For your
Have you
soul,
seen it, dear?
which I'm not using
I
really.
get their emails. I click on every last one.
But this was, and there's only 150 prints ever being made, and they
And
come in those
have you
beautiful
told
frames.
Marcus the best part about it? That's that's going to interest Marcus.
No, I haven't.
They're all hand signed by Alex Ross.
I hate everything.
Yeah, that's the correct.
They've got
reaction.
interest-free monthly payments.
Yes, dude.
Don't fucking
Those
dare.
monthly payments
Those
are
felt
dangerous.
Those
And
mon-
last year I had like 4 going simultaneously.
Those monthly, no, dude, I know, because you're like, I can buy like 1 or 2, and then they both hit. You're like, ah, oh no,
Shits.
hey man, like
I
You
have
have
a-
any idea how many Queen records I need to sell?
I had those
to
monthly
him
payments
to
going
fund
on my
that?
gut statue.
I was
Look,
sitting
I'm
looking
not
through it
using
and I
any of
saw
my
hand
eggs right
signed by
now.
Alex
I'll just
Ross, and I
sell
was like,
those.
Just go to India, sell them. I always remember in uni they always were advertising.
Yeah, they definitely were, but you don't actually make that much for your eggs. I did look into this because I am a broke student trying to pay off a master's degree.
I think I'll put our list on the Cinebeards Facebook group when I've done
Yeah.
actually as well.
No.
We should, yeah.
Well, we're gonna see 13 of them next week.
Hey!
All right.
Cool. I need more caffeine.